Isak!
Summer is coming, and you know what that means. The transfer window is about to swing open. Soon players will start to move clubs, and there are some guys we expect to dominate this particular window. Some players will leave for free, some will go out on loan, but there are a few others who will force big clubs to break the bank. It is those players we're here to talk about in this video today. These are 10 players who could go for big money this summer. We'll start with Bradley Barcola. His name has come up in links with a number of top clubs. From what we hear, the likes of Liverpool, Arsenal and Barcelona are interested in the Frenchman, but PSG won't be letting him go for anything less than 80 million euros. And well, that right there is big money. Considering he's still just 23 years old and is already playing at a top level, you can surely understand the price tag. Also, he still has 2 years on his contract, so PSG aren't exactly desperate to sell just yet. If Barcola is going to leave Paris this summer, it's surely going to be one of the biggest transfers of the window. Another winger who could go for big money this summer is Anthony Gordon. This is one guy that we're almost certain will make a move in the summer. With Newcastle destined to miss out on European football next season, the 25-year-old Englishman will very likely be out once the season is over. He has drawn interest from a lot of top clubs around Europe, including Chelsea, Arsenal and even Bayern Munich, and he surely won't be cheap. The starting price for him appears to be around 80 million euros, but if there's a bidding war, that number could still go up. With Alexander Isak last summer, Newcastle showed that they know how to get the highest possible price for their players, and with Gordon still with 4 years on his contract, the Magpies will definitely have the upper hand in the negotiations. In fact, we won't be surprised if he ends up hitting the 100 million euro mark. Another player who could hit that mark is Gordon's current teammate Bruno Guimarães. He is one of the most valuable midfielders in the Premier League right now, but with the current situation Newcastle find themselves in, it's looking like they'll be losing their captain this summer. He came close to leaving last year, but he ended up staying. However, we don't see the same happening this time around. Man United seem to be leading the chase for the signature. With Casemiro set to leave, having another Brazilian midfielder of a similar profile come in to replace him seems like a natural progression. Apart from the Red Devils though, there are also other big clubs who would like to have the Brazil international on their team. The 28-year-old is currently valued at 75 million euros, and if he is sold for that price, it would definitely qualify as a big money move. But we think he is one player who could possibly go for more than that, especially if a bidding war ensues. But that's not even all for Newcastle players on this list. There's one more. Do you know who we're talking about here? Take a guess in the comments, we'll see if you're right soon. While you're there, if you aren't yet subscribed to the channel, go do that right away so you never miss out on our amazing content. Now, back to the video. One player who will likely be the subject of a big move this summer is Yandom Mande. The 19-year-old Ivorian only just moved to RB Leipzig last summer, but his stocks have skyrocketed in under 1 year that every big club around Europe now seems to want him. He has shown a good combination of skills, productivity, and a good work ethic, which, coupled with his age, make him one of the most sought-after left wingers in the world right now. According to reports, he is on the radar of Barcelona, Manchester United, and Liverpool, and reports say that Leipzig are demanding 100 million euros for the player who they bought for 20 million euros just last year. But that's the thing, innit? The club is definitely not in a hurry to let him go. He is young, he only just joined the club and has a contract that runs until 2030. So if you want them to part with their wonder kid just a year after signing him, you have to make it worth their while. And well, the fact that multiple big clubs are interested tells us that we might get close to a transfer record with this one. Another player to keep an eye on this summer is Elliot Anderson. He has really impressed at Nottingham Forest this season, and it feels almost impossible that he will remain at the club beyond this campaign. Despite Forest's struggles in the league, Anderson has still made headlines. He has been so good that he was handed his first England call-up and subsequent debut this season. Because of his performances, Man United and a host of other top clubs in the country have expressed interest in snatching him this summer. But he surely will be costing quite a fortune. Well, unless Nottingham Forest don't survive relegation, which is looking less and less likely by the day. But you know what's looking more and more likely by the day? Enzo Fernandez leaving Chelsea this summer. A lot has happened over the last few weeks, which seem to be giving an indication that the Argentinian wants out. During the international break, he appeared to flirt with the idea of leaving Chelsea to join Real Madrid, which led to the Chelsea boss suspending him for 2 games. On top of that, he was temporarily stripped of vice-captaincy, and all these are just sending signals that the former Benfica man wants out. Add the fact that Chelsea now look out of the race for Champions League, and it generally is not looking good, but under the new ownership, Chelsea have become something of a selling club, so we don't think they'll be getting in Enzo's way if he really does want to leave. But anyone who wants him will surely have to break the bank. In fact, rumours say that Chelsea is demanding a record fee in order to let him go. Considering they paid a record 121 million euros themselves just 3 years ago, that doesn't surprise us at all. Now, the likelihood of Enzo leaving this summer is not so high just yet, but if he does leave, you can bet it is going to be for big money. And that is sort of the same case with William Saliba. Right now, the chances of him leaving Arsenal at the end of the current campaign are not so high, but that could change if the Gunners end the season without a trophy. Anyway, what we know for a fact is that if Saliba is going to leave North London this summer, it is definitely going to be for big money. In fact, he could even become the most expensive defender in football history. Saliba has the reputation of being one of the most elite defenders on the globe, and at 25, he is in his absolute prime right now. So, if he says he really wants to leave, we expect that Arsenal will be demanding upwards of 100 million euros for him, and we believe that Real Madrid might just be willing to pay that amount for a player they have been interested in for some years now. Now, remember we said that there's another Newcastle player on this list? It is Sandro Tonali. The Italian midfielder is currently in the prime of his career, and we believe he'd love to spend it fighting for the biggest trophies. He wasn't exactly the happiest man when he was forced to leave Milan and join Newcastle in 2023, but he grew to love it there and has now become something of a club favourite. But we think his time at the club might be nearing its end. Reports say that Man United and Arsenal have shown interest in him, and it would be very difficult for him to turn those clubs down. We're talking about some of the biggest clubs in England and in Europe who will guarantee him Champions League football next season. It'll be really hard to say no to that, but for Newcastle to let him go, they would want some good money for him, especially if they're selling to local rivals. Tonali still has 3 years on his contract, so the Magpies will definitely have the upper hand in the negotiations. Another Premier League midfielder who could go for big money is Adam Wharton. The 22-year-old is one of the most highly rated young midfielders in England because of his creativity, vision, intelligence, and technique. Last season he was linked with a move away from Palace, but having just won the FA Cup, he decided to stay an extra year. But well, with Easy gone and Mateta and Oliver Glasner set to leave this summer, the band is dissolving, so we expect that Wharton will be on his way as well. Liverpool are reported to be very interested in him, and Man United have always been linked too. In fact, some rumours claim that Barcelona might be interested in getting into the race, but we doubt that that holds water. Anyway, whichever club wants to land the young man this summer surely knows that they'll have to part with a lot of money. With his current contract running until 2029, Palace are in no hurry to sell, so in order to convince them, the offer will have to be very mouth-watering. We won't at all be surprised if he goes for close to 100 million euros. I mean, we're talking about a highly rated young Prem-proven Englishman here. This is almost certainly going to be a big transfer. Finally, Victor Osimhen is one guy who could make a big move this summer. Yes, he only just signed a permanent deal with Galatasaray last year, but a lot of top clubs want him, and a few of them might be willing to do what it takes to get him out of that contract. Osimhen turns 29 next year, so he probably has it at the back of his mind that if he wants to make a move to a big club, now is the time. According to reports, he is on the radar of Barcelona, Juventus, and even Real Madrid, and every one of these clubs surely knows that he won't be cheap. Gala paid 75 million euros for him last summer, so at the very least, they would be looking to recoup the money they spent, which will automatically make it one of the biggest deals of the summer. But if he moves to Juventus, the fee could be even double that because of the anti-Serie A clause in his contract. Napoli stipulated that if Gala intends on selling Osimhen to a Serie A club this summer, they would have to pay a fine of 70 million euros. So, if Juventus want the Nigerian that badly, they could consider covering the fine, which could push the entire transfer fee to about 150 million euros. Anyway, it is now time to hear from you guys. Which of these players do you think will actually make big moves this summer, and which of them will end up remaining at their clubs? Are there more players you think will go for big money in the coming transfer window? Drop their names in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Also, turn on the bell notification so you never miss out on new content. Catch you in the next one. Bye.